Hey guys, it's Amanda and Baron, the Kickin'Cancer cares of KSLM Radio.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Our sponsor for this first half is Marianne McNally. She is a residential real estate specialist with Next Home Realty Connection. I don't have my handy-dandy paper in front of me, so I'm going to go off my phone. So if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, not sure where to start, or just have a few questions to get you on the right path, her number is 503-409-4389, and please keep her in your prayers as well, because she is currently going through a battle that's not going in her favor so much, I feel like.
Yeah. And we'll when she feels comfortable with more information, I will share that.
Yeah.
She did reach out to me, and I know a little bit, but sometimes a little bit is dangerous. So let's wait till I know a little bit more.
Absolutely.
And for those that are on YouTube, this is kind of a fun new setting here in our new little studio.
Yes. Hello.
And for those that aren't on YouTube, I challenge you to go to Kickin'Cancer Productions, become one of our followers. Mm-hmm. I'm thrilled that our guest on the phone found us because of our podcast. George is still with us.
Yes.
Oh,
yes, sir.
Perfect. Well, let me just catch the listeners up real quick with some of the things you said in the first half of the show. Your journey is similar to a couple of guests we've had before. Yours was the head, his was the foot, but it was a situation that didn't look positive. In his case, he had this blister on the bottom of his foot that wound up being malignant melanoma. For you it was on your head, but You told me earlier that you had 10 surgeries.
That's correct.
Were those surgeries an effort to try to get the cancer off your head? Was that the purpose for those surgeries?
No, actually, like I said, the first lesion was there, but then when it started manifesting in my right neck, they removed. That was the second operation. The first one was just removing it from my scalp, from the top of my head, and then the second one was they removed 23 lymph nodes because one lymph node was positive behind my ear. So they decided, okay, we're gonna go and remove lymph nodes around your right hand neck. So. That's what they did. They realized there were three lymph nodes that they could not get to, so they decided right there, they didn't ask my wife or anything, let's just remove that muscle and get rid of those three. And it so happened that those were the only 3 of the 23 that were positive. So then I started treatments. 4 months into that, into being with interferon, I had another nodule in my left ear, and they biopsied that. It was positive, so they took 22 lymph nodes from my left side of my neck, and 2 of those lymph nodes were positive. The thing with melanoma, especially when it goes to your lymph nodes, your lymphatic system, it just flows around your body. And so, thank God, it never got to my lungs or my liver, which is very common, but so after that I had another couple of months with of treatment. It manifested again, and like that for 7 years I had, by the time almost at 8 on year 8 I had already 8 surgeries, and that was my first craniotomy I had my first brain surgery, because actually it did go, or it was there, but I never saw it. I doubt it, because I did a lot of CTs and MRIs and stuff. But it manifested in my front lobe, so I had my first craniotomy. But all in all, for 10 years, I had 10 surgeries, 4 craniotomies. 4 times they hit my brain. I had 2 gamma knives. And 2 of the tumors were not operable in my back lobe. So there's something that I have to share, but you can read my book. It became a bestseller on day one. I'll let you know later on the title. Maybe you haven't, but so it was 10 years and 10 surgeries. My last one was in 2012, July 2012. So this past 12th of July was my 12th year free of cancer.
Well, this is a bit fortuitous as well, George, because you reached out to me several weeks ago, and we talked on the phone, and we tried to coordinate schedules. There was a possibility that you would have come on our show in June, but that just didn't work out for either one of us. And so here we sit in the middle of July, doing our show, and it was July of 2012 that you were cancer-free. Mm-hmm. You are now 12 years cancer-free to the month that we're doing this show on. That's pretty cool. The other thing I want to make sure no one missed this, because this is information I think that people need to understand, that when they knew that the cancer got into your lymphatic system, that's why they're checking those lymph nodes. Did it get into the lymphatic system? Once it did, now it's moving through your body, and your concern was, is it going to go to my lungs? Is it going to go to my liver? But it went to your brain. It went to your brain, correct?
Yep. Yes, absolutely.
So your skin cancer metastasized into your brain. They found a spot in the front lobe, the front part of your brain, and you had a couple of inoperable spots.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I had 3 other craniotomies. There was one that it was so close to where the area where we have our speech. So they told me that they would have to probably, do the surgery, which they were long surgeries. The head was, the minimum was 8 hours, but so they said they were gonna just do it with local anesthesia because they were afraid to damage my speech. So what they basically, many things happen. We don't have time for that, but I have it all. Like I said, my book became a bestseller. It's just really the important thing here is that I'm a person of faith. I know those 2 tumors disappear. They disappear actually, and I elaborate on that on my book. But
okay, so I'm going to interrupt you again real quick.
Go ahead.
Well, because you said this 3 times. So you have a book. What's the name of your book, and how can our listeners find that book? Because I just think there's a lot in that book that we don't have time for on the show, but people could listen to read.
Exactly. I explained exactly why and how I made my decisions and why I'm here 12 years later with no cancer. But it's called Beating the Odds, and it's by Georges. The author is Georges, not George. It's George with an S. That's my name in French.
Okay.
My Greek family, just put it like that. It's Georges Cordoba, Cordoba as in Bob A. And then you'll see the book there, both in English and Spanish, and both, by the way, made bestseller.
And for those that are listening on our podcast, it was called Beating the Odds. But for those of you that are watching on YouTube, I guarantee you right now, Ashlie is putting a picture of his book for you to all see, because that's what Ashlie does. We love you, Ashlie.
So really quick, George, did your speech get affected by the surgery?
No, what happened? Well, I'll say it really quick. I had a very, very dear friend of mine. I played tennis with his brothers all my life, and they also migrated to LA, actually. Tennis players, one played in UCLA. Anyway, the sister was going to this church in Miami, and they had a lady that was running a prayer group. Her name was, imagine, Mary of the Angels. That's her name. In Spanish, Maria de los Ángeles. And she called me the same day. My neurosurgeon said, look, I'm going to go on vacation. We'll probably have to do this on Thursday. It was Monday. Well, that Monday night, Daniela called me and said that she had a dream, and she was actually embarrassed. I want to invite you to my prayer group. Would you come? It's tomorrow, Tuesday. And I said, of course, Danny, I'll go. So I went. This lady, they were praying, and then she asked where I was. She came and imposed her hands on me. And Danny didn't know anything. Nobody knew, just my wife and I at that point, that I was going to go for yet another another craniotomy. That was my second or fourth. But anyway, the thing is that she found me. She took me to the back of the church, of the chapel, and prayed on me. And she imposed her hands, and right away she went to my head. And folks, I started crying, but I was healing. I know I was healing.
Wow.
And I felt this amazing stream, warm stream inside my body, and going also through my head. And when we finished, she says, "George," in Spanish, "Jorge, you have something big this week, right?" And I said, "Yeah. On Thursday they're gonna remove a tumor from my head." And she goes, "Come here," and she kept going, and I kept crying and feeling that. So anyway, what happened at the end of that session, the prayer, at the end, everybody holds hands, as Christians do that. It's an amazing prayer in group. It's just very powerful, or praying for somebody even in distance. But the bottom line is, she said, "Look, here's a gentleman that is going to have a malignant tumor removed on Thursday. However, I don't ask God, how please that. I just say, you are the Almighty. Just heal this boy." That's what she said. And she said, I would not be surprised if he doesn't need a surgery on Thursday. And so I got home. My wife that night could not come with me. And so she saw my face, and she said, "What happened?" I explained, and I said, "Look, she said that even I might not even need to get operated." And I felt healing. And so I slept on it. I got up in the morning. We decided to still go. It was Wednesday. They had to do, when they work on your head, they have to do an MRI with a kind of like a helmet, so they know where they're going to do the incision in the brain. It's very complicated, brain surgery. Oh, yeah. And so we did it. And basically, he comes back on Thursday. We're waiting on the pre-op on the room. That was going to be the day of the operation. And he says, "George, I have two pieces of news for you, good news." And my wife and I looked at each other, and we just, we were feeling the Spirit of God in there. And he's a Jewish man, but of faith. He's somebody that is really a faithful person. And he said, "Which one do you want first?" And they said, "Well, they're both good." And he says, the first good news is that we had a conference all afternoon yesterday with Houston Mayo Clinic and Minnesota and Arizona, and we decided you don't have to be operated, and with the local anesthesia, it's safe to do your surgery without, you'll be totally asleep. And I go, "Well, what is the second good news?" And he goes, "Wow, I don't know. This is amazing. Are we going to check again after the operation? They always do another MRI to see how everything went. But the two tumors you have in the back lobe that are not operable, they disappeared. They're not there."
Wow.
And so my wife and I looked at each other and we just. I'm a person. Like I say, I'm a person of faith. I actually, I'll tell you, in another situation. This is not the first time we're going to talk. I'd like to help you guys in whatever way I can, but that was the case. And my surgery, all surgeries, when 4 craniotomies were great. I had nothing. If I take, you can see the scars, but I just healed so good. It was just it was the hand of God, Yeah. And then the thing at the end of the day is that on Wednesday he came back and he says, "Look, the surgery it's great, it's clean, and George, the other 2 tumors are gone. They're gone." And so that's the story with that. And but I did decide on years, is something that Baron, that I decided on year 8. I did have a couple more surgeries because it takes a while. But I decided to go all natural. I went holistic. I took the holistic journey to really beat this thing, and that's why the book is called "Beating the Odds: My Journey Through Holistic Health to Overcome Advanced Cancer." Because
and I think it's important. I think it's important. Well, I think it's important, George, that. And I'm glad that you said that, because I have been calling you George. It's George's. There's an extra X on the end there.
No, it's okay.
But, you know,
go ahead.
Well, we're kind of conditioned in Western society that the doctors say you do X, Y, Z because that's the protocols you're supposed to do. And when it's really scary, like, oh my gosh, I have cancer on my head and it's gone into my brain, then you kind of trust that you do X, Y, Z. And if you make a decision to go against the grain, which is really what you did, is you're saying, you know, like, I've been doing this now for 8 years, guys. It's not working, and I want to go a different direction. And you took control. You said, I'm going to go a different direction. And not only did it work, like you're telling me, tumors that were there were gone. Tumors that were there were gone. And now you sit here 12 years later, cancer-free from what sounds to me like an absolutely horrible diagnosis. But not only did you go against the grain, you also really stepped out of the box on a career path, because you told me that you were the chief technology officer in a company that you're with, which, you know, I'm not technologically savvy, but I would imagine that the chief technology officer is in charge of all the technology within that company. And you said, nope, I'm going to be a holistic health coach. That's like 180 degrees the opposite direction. And then you went and wrote a book that you said was a bestseller immediately. And once again, for the listeners that are watching us on YouTube, I guarantee you that right now you can see that book, because Ashlie is going to put that book up there for you all to see. But we would encourage you to go find that book. And right now Amanda's pointing at the book, so you can all see Amanda pointing at the book right now.
But it's also in audio. It's also an audio book on Amazon. But I have to. Thanks for mentioning the fact that I kind of shift careers. You know, after it was a very successful career. I love technology, but what happened is that, and then I took the second leap of faith of just going natural instead of, well, that was the first one. The second one was this one. Everybody was, especially doctors and family, that thought, you crazy, keep going your chemo, keep going what you do and be doing the same thing. And I said, no, I know myself. Intuition is your best coach, folks.
Intuition is your best coach. That is such a good statement.
For you, for Amanda, for everybody listening,
such a good statement.
Key, the wisdom that we have in the subconscious mind. And so anyway, I took a leap of faith and I went natural. And then I kept going for another 4 years as a CCO, but I was already forming myself as I became a Reiki teacher and a practitioner. I teach Reiki. And then I became a nutritionist. Then I got my holistic health coach diploma. Then I did a master in transformational coaching. And just not too long ago, a year and a half ago, I became a hypnotherapist. All of this to help my clients. I help people who are dealing with cancer or the threat of recurrence, and I help them. I work with them, but I help them transform their health and vitality, even though most of them are scared, and I don't try to do the same I did. No, just keep doing your stuff. But if you work together with this protocol, you are going to see an amazing difference. And I teach them how to treat the chemo. You see, this whole thing is mental as well. So once I have, in 7 years as a holistic health coach and all the stuff that I'm doing, only 3 people made the same decision that I did. The other ones haven't, and but they healed. And there's a lot of stuff to talk about the pharma industry and all that stuff, but that doesn't come here. This is a positive situation, but I can tell you that with faith, and you take action on that faith. Remember, that faith without action is dead. You have to take faith. If you know that God is going to heal you, you're not going to sit there to get healed. You have to do everything in your power to heal.
Yeah.
That is alternative to what I was doing. I
would like you to come back on the show again in the future, because we are running close on time. And you've hit on a topic that could be a whole new show of listening to your intuition and healing yourself, which again is a whole nother show. But what I would love for you to do in our last few minutes here, George, is the area that we live in. We're very agriculture around here. We do have a pretty good Latino community, and don't go long, but would you talk to them in Spanish and give them some hope as to listening to their own intuition? Would you do that for us?
Yes, for sure. Okay, ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Sí. Queridos amigos, en este show, Kickin'Cancer.org, que es una maravilla, pero quería saludarlos y decirles que sí se puede, que hay esperanza. Yo, si no entienden inglés, sobreviví un estado 4 de cáncer de melanoma, y en el año 8 decidí irme a lo natural. Sí se puede, con fe y poniendo la fe en acción. Hay que entender que la mente es poderosa y aprender cómo usarla. Así que sí se puede. Espero que si estás pasando por cáncer, trates de, por lo menos lo poquito que te acaba de decir, y ten mucha esperanza. Ponas en acción todo. No te sientes a ser simplemente un paciente. Tú eres el dueño de tu enfermedad. Tú eres el que tienes o la que tienes la batuta en la mano. Okay, así que Dios te bendiga y espero que te mores.
All right. So what did I don't speak Spanish. So what did you just say?
I just said that if they were going through cancer, that there is hope. That you're listening to a survivor and went through a 10-year battle, and if they take action and not play the patient game. Oh, I'm a patient. No, just take action. It's your life. You have the baton, and I just wish him luck, and I told him again, there is hope, esperanza. Tienes esperanza. Good luck, and God bless you. That's what I said.
Well, that is phenomenal. And again, for the listeners, we do want to bring you back again in the future and talk more about this intuition. That's just a whole another great subject, but we are running close on time. I always do at the very end is I give a little timeline item, and this is such a fun thing because last week's show, we were at our store, which is predominantly a disc golf store.
Yes.
There are Kickin'Cancer shirts there, and we do have a clearance sale going on. But it was October of 2021 when I had my first encounter with Noah Cool.
Okay.
And we were talking through how do we do a disc golf tournament, which we did pull that off. But in my timeline with Kickin'Cancer, that meeting with Noah eventually led to a discussion that, here's Noah. He wasn't even 21 yet, because I had some of my Kickin'Cancer beer that Oddmo's had, and I was going to give him a can. He's like, I'm not old enough to drink it yet. So here's this 20-year-old kid, but he had spent the last 4 years selling disc out of his garage and had a great little online business built. And I had a whole bunch of shirts that were sitting in my trunk of my car. And I said, both of us have this little business. What if we find a way to work together? And since then, we have organized 6 or 7 disc golf tournaments. We're going to do another one in Albany again this year. He is organizing a really fun one at the baseball stadium. It's called an ACE race. So the baskets are close enough that if you don't throw a hole in one, then you just pick your disc up and keep going.
Okay.
Because in disc, a hole in one is called an ace. So either you get an ace or you don't, and if you don't, you pick your disc up. So it should go fast as an ace race. But October of 2021, Noah and I began collaborating. Here we sit almost 3 years later, and it's just been a really fun ride.
That's awesome.
So,
well, thank you so much for joining us, George. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys for inviting me. I'm really honored.
Absolutely. So I'm going to give a shout out to our sponsor of this second half, which is Marianne McNally. She is a residential real estate specialist with Next Home Realty Connection. So if you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, not sure where to start, or if you just have questions, if you're even on that right path, if it's a possibility, what it may look like, how long of a process it is, definitely give her a call. Her phone number is 503-409-4389. And we'll be back next week as
the movement continues.